guys, if you look over at our objective for today, okay, so right now you should have out on your desk your Socratic seminar sheets. But it's important for you to understand that the central question that we're going to be asking in the Socratic seminar is whether or not we should be abolishing slavery, okay? So one of the topics that we're going to be talking about in the whole culmination, the stimulus material that you have right now in front of you, is on the Lincoln-Douglas debates, okay? Are we also going to be mentioning Dred Scott?
Yes.
Are we also going to be mentioning the Kansas-Nebraska Act within that?
Yes.
Okay, so we have to discuss and understand that those things are going to be causes to the eventual start of the Civil War. It hasn't started yet. We know that it's just the tension that's occurring. Okay, so right now, you are in predetermined groups. Group 1 is in the center. Group 2 around the edges of the inside-outside circle. Okay, what you need to have out on your desk right now, depending on what group you are in. Group 1, you should have your questions out in front of you, okay, that you answered prior to class. Group 2, what you need to have in front of you are Group 1's questions. Okay, so go ahead and open up to Group 1's questions, and you are going to jot down answers to the questions as Group 1 completes the Socratic seminar. Does everybody understand what you have to do for this? Okay, you are getting a grade for the entire completion of the whole packet. Now remember, Group 2 didn't analyze Group 1's part of the document, and vice versa. So it's important that everybody, especially in the outside circle, is listening to what's happening. Okay? Logan is going to be our group leader, so he's going to take control over Group 1, deciding who's going to either do one of 3 things. Okay, so let's remind ourselves how we get participation points. Ask a question, answer a question, or elaborate on a question. Okay? We cannot move on to another question until multiple people have elaborated. Does everybody understand that? Okay? You will be timed. Each group will have 15 minutes to complete their part of the Socratic seminar. I will keep the timer right here at my desk. Okay? So everybody should have out Group 1's information right now. Logan, you may begin.
Alright, so I'm going to ask the first question. Why was Lincoln's first question address the idea of slavery in Kansas? Great.
Because if Kansas would be admitted to the Union, it would become a slave state because pro-slavery citizens migrated to Kansas.
Can anybody elaborate on that? Tonto?
And also the bleeding Kansas, it was the violence caused by the pro- and anti-slavery settlers killing one another to influence the decision.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said that, like, because of the Kansas-Nebraska Act, it would allow the people to choose whether slavery would be in the states. So therefore, Lincoln wanted to see what was Douglas's view on it.
He also wanted to test Douglas's problem-solving skills. Like he wanted to see how he would handle the problem going on in Kansas at the time.
It was probably it was a big issue at the time too, and he might have wanted to address that because that's what most people watching the debates were probably there to see what they were going to do about it.
Alright, anybody want to ask the second question?
According to the debate, what is Douglas's response to the first question asked by Lincoln?
Douglas says that if you look in your document things, Douglas's reply, the first line right under there, it says, "It is my opinion that as she has population enough to constitute a slave state, she has people enough for a free state."
I agree with what Larry said about how they're saying that if Kansas can be entered as a slave state, then it should also be allowed to be entered as a free state, whether or not it has a certain population or not. If it has enough people for it to be a slave state, then why not just admit it as a free state?
Yeah. Well, it says on line 20, it says either Kansas must come in as a free state with whatever population she may have, or the rule must be applied to all of the territories alike. And he's basically saying, you know, either admit one is a free state and all of them is a free state from there on out, or admit one is a slave state and all of them is a slave state.
He also says Douglas has there's going to be no
exceptions. Like he thinks the vote can go either way. And you're going to give special treatment to like any certain state. So it's going to be popular sovereignty in the vote.
Alright, can anybody else elaborate on that? Alright. Next question, what is Douglas's response to Lincoln's question team to exclude regions from becoming slave states prior to the state being acquired?
In lines 24 through 27 in the packet, Douglas kind of answers him like sarcastically and like he's like aggravated with it because he says that Lincoln's asked him this 100 times, and he says that he tells Lincoln that he believes a slave state prior to the Constitution should be lawfully granted the request to change from a slave state to a free state and vice versa, and that in lines 33 to 35 he says that people have the right to introduce or exclude slavery.
Yeah. He also mentions the part about police regulations as the only way it's gonna work, you know. So anybody else can elaborate?
Someone elaborate on the idea of police regulation for me. Why would they be considering, okay, if slavery is going to be allowed in a territory or in a region, why must police regulation be the only way that it can be allowed?
Elect representatives and make police officers people that agree with their opinions on it. So if someone is for slavery, then they're going to want officials and police officers that are going to enforce the fact that you are a slave. You are property, you're not a person, you don't have the rights as everyone else. Whereas someone who is, everyone should be free, is going to want officials who's going to fight for the freedom of the slaves, and police officers who are going to say, that's not property, that's a person.
Okay. So someone tell me how the idea of police regulation could actually, instead of leading to less dispute, lead to more dispute. Think about that.
I think to them the idea of police regulation could lead to more dispute by causing more people to contradict each other in the theory that most people would want for a free state or most people want for a slave state, so they'd be electing for different representatives and arguing more and more about whether the state's going to be free or a slave state, which would just cause more and more problems.
The result of the Kansas-Nebraska Act, because the pro and anti-slavery settlers were killing each other for the issue of slavery in that territory. So he was using it to his advantage, kind of like saying that there's no good that slavery can bring.
I think that the Kansas-Nebraska Act and the whole idea of slavery and everything was the main focus of this entire election. And I don't necessarily think that was a good thing, because even though this was a major thing that was happening in America, you can't only vote on a person just because they believe on one topic. So I don't think, I think that it was a good debate and it was a good analyzing each other and challenging each other on everything like that. I just feel like it didn't cover enough topics.
Didn't answer enough questions.
So you say they focused too much on slavery and not enough on other political things. Okay. Brandon?
I feel like the Kansas-Nebraska Act helped him because the Kansas-Nebraska Act stated that each state decided whether it was slave or free. So he felt like he might have been able to persuade other states to become free, and they would win the election.
And ultimately, the Industrial Revolution had been altered if Abraham Lincoln had won the spot in the Senate and Douglas had later become elected as president.
Read it one more. That's an awesome question. Read it one more. That's a whole lot of synthesis going on right there. Read it one more time.
How would the Civil War,
So just jot down Civil War, guys, just so you know what topic she's talking about.
the abolishment of slavery, and ultimately the Industrial Revolution have been altered if Abraham Lincoln had won the spot in the Senate and Douglas had later become elected as president?
Are you raising your own hand? Okay. All right.
I feel that because Douglas was from the South, it had been flip-flopped exactly from what actually happened. You know, the Industrial Revolution probably wouldn't have happened because of the South being an agrarian society. The Civil War probably wouldn't have happened because, it might have, but it might not, because since he was from the South, they probably would have still allowed slavery. And What was the other topic?
The abolishment of slavery.
Yeah, probably, slavery probably might not have been abolished till much later than it happened.
Tell the group on the inside that they did a good job. Because they truly did. Awesome job discussing that, guys. Some of y'all questions were amazing. Some of y'all answers were amazing. Most of y'all answers were amazing, and most of y'all questions were amazing.
All of our questions.
All of your questions and answers were amazing. Okay, so now the second group is moving toward me so we can do a little groundwork on the Dred Scott decision prior to us actually starting this, because just like Bleeding Kansas and the Kansas-Nebraska Act were very big topics within the first part of this stimulus document, the idea of Dred Scott is brought up by Lincoln in the second part of this document. Okay, so he wants to begin with that.
Okay. I just want to know what you guys wrote down for the summary of the Dred Scott decision. So, any volunteers? David?
In the Dred Scott decision, Dred Scott was a former slave of a military surgeon, and the surgeon had to go to different posts all over the United States, and they had eventually gone to Missouri and left. But whenever he went back to Missouri, he sued because he wanted his freedom, because Missouri was a free state. But the Supreme Court told him that he was a black man and he couldn't sue and he couldn't have his freedom because he lived there at one time, he had moved and he didn't live there anymore.
So he moves to a free state and then goes back to a slave state, and then he's denied his freedom. Okay.
Abigail?
I want to add something important. That verdict was decided by justices on the Supreme Court, which were more heavily from the South. There was 5 justices that were slave owners from the South, and only 2 Republicans. So that played a big part in the actual determining that he couldn't bring suit to court.
Very good.
We wanted to bring out Douglas' moral stand on slavery because Lincoln gained his approval due to his position about slavery.
Okay. One more on this one.
I think he was trying to make Douglas look bad by Douglas was a Democrat, so he was pro-slavery. So he wanted to have slaves and stuff. And Lincoln was trying to make him look bad because he was against it. He thought that it would be the right thing to abolish it.
Cool. All right. Let's move on to the next one.
May somebody read the next question? Name? To thought, Democrats were heavy supporters of the Manifest Destiny, right? How they thought about it was if they were to expand further, they could plant more cotton, raise the economy a little bit like that. And for side things, for anybody who tries to oppose it, it would say, oh, well, it provides better housing and more territorial dominance for to protect the U.S. as itself. So more land, is better for the land.
Do the closure part of this, okay? So guys on the outside, give your classmates a hand on the inside. Fabulous, amazing job. Okay, if you turn to the front page of your packet, you will see the central question that we need to answer based on this. And that last question that James asked was a really good question because it's leading into this, okay? So the question, if you look on the top of your page, says, should the country choose to abolish slavery? We are not thinking in today's terms. We are thinking in terms of living in 1858 prior to Abraham Lincoln being President of the United States, okay? Think of it from that aspect. Well, go ahead and jot down some answers, okay? So what I want you to do on the bottom of your sheet, all right, where you have a little bit room, is just go ahead and jot down your ideas on this, okay? So like I said before, put the human aspect of slavery aside. When we see the pictures of the lashings, the beatings that these slaves got, we instinctively as human beings say, oh my God, that's absolutely terrible, okay? I want you to put that aside because think about people in the South at this time. They didn't consider them humans, they considered them property, okay? So go ahead and jot down a few answers for that, please.